Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well, and in this video we're gonna talk about the car tires. I mean that I'm going to explain why tires are so important, test different car tires types in the game, and we will determine which types of tires are suitable for different types of occupations. I hope it will be interesting, grab something to eat if you are hungry, and let's get started. First of all, here are the cars we will be testing. They are exactly the same, but I am going to put different types of tires on them. I also repainted them so that it would be easier for you to recognize it. White car has standard tires, the grey car has sport tires, and the black car has race tires. But what is very important for us is to understand the essence of the experiment. So let's take a look at what tire is and what determines its effectiveness. Let's imagine that this is a car driving on the road. First of all, you can see that the wheels, that is, the tires, are the only part of the car that touches the surface on which the car is driving. Let's visualize the forces acting on the car and consequently on the wheel. Gravity acts downward. Up is the force of the reaction of the support, which counterparts gravity. Forward is the force of traction, that is speed, and backwards is the friction force of the wheel on the surface. Also, of course, there is another friction force on the car, namely the friction force of the air on the car, but here we can ignore it. Now let's look at these forces specifically on the wheel. As before, gravity acts downward and so on. But what is important to us here is that the frictional force is counteracting the speed with which the wheel is moving. We can say that the friction force prevents the wheel from moving and the car from accelerating faster, but this is not quite right. So why is friction so important? In fact, if friction did not exist, we would not be able to accelerate at all. We would not be able to do anything at all. Nothing would exist at all. Almost everything that exists in the world exists because of the friction force. The universe itself came into existence due to friction, but this is another topic. You just need to know that friction is a very important component of our world, but sometimes it also causes a lot of troubles. Because of it, parts are constantly lubricated with grease and so on. Okay, let's get back to the topic of wheels and tires. When we talk about tires, the friction force is very important to us. The friction force is what makes the car stick to the road. If the friction force is not high enough, the wheels start to spin and will lose some of the performance of the car. But on the other hand, to spin the wheel you need to overcome the friction force. That is, you need to find the perfect balance between grip and friction. That is why tire manufacturers make different types of tires for different types of activities. Off-road tires, racing tires, summer tires or winter tires. All these types are designed to ensure that the car has a balance between traction and the necessary friction force. Let's see how to calculate the friction force. There is one simple formula. The friction force is equal to the coefficient of friction multiplied by the reaction force of the support. That means the mass multiplied by the acceleration of free fall. If the reaction force is more or less clear, what is the friction coefficient? This is a tabular parameter that you can find on the internet, and it depends on the types of surfaces that are in contact. So we have found out that the friction force depends on the mass of the friction object and what it frictions on. Here are some values of the coefficient of friction. Values for a tire on a dry asphalt, on wet asphalt, and ice on ice. Now, when we know all about friction and what it depends on and why we need it, let's experiment with different types of tires. This is a car with standard tires, and in slow motion we can see how much the wheel slips during a sharp start on this car. Now let's look at a car with sport tires. And on a car with racing tires. To make it easier for you to see the difference, I will put the three of them side by side and you can watch. So I think you can see that the most stable wheel was the one with racing tire. The standard one had a very noticeable slip at the beginning, and the sport tire had a very small slip as well. But is it really so critical? Let's first compare these cars in acceleration to 100 km/h. The difference is quite small, but it's there, and at the highest capacities it will also play a role. Now let's do a braking test. The brakes are the same, the cars are the same, only the tires are different. The first test, braking from 100 km/h. Here are the results. I think it's safe to say that the racing tires have the best grip with the road. Let's repeat the test, but now we will brake from 150 km/h. And here are the results. You can clearly see that the race tires are much better than others. And now the drift test. In theory, standard tires should be the best for drifting because they are the slippiest of the tires we have. Why do I keep flying here so beautifully? I didn't do it on purpose. Well, what can I say? The racing tires are very stable, the car just refuses to go sideways. The standard tires can be used for drifting, but it's very difficult to control the car with them. And it's also a question of how long they will last before they are completely worn out. I like the sport tires the best in drifting, because they have a balance between car control and beautiful drifting. That's basically it. I hope you liked the video. I tried to explain everything to you and make interesting experiments. I hope I deserve a like, and also if you still want interesting video experiments, then subscribe to the channel. I have many more ideas for you.